So we're going to go through this. I'm not going to take too much of your time, but I want to talk about, firstly, welcome to Just with Faith. If you have not already subscribed, liked, or comment any of our videos, I don't know what you're waiting for, but go ahead and like and comment, share. Thank you. So today we're going to clear something up that I think confuses a lot of parents and a lot of teachers, I would say, and a lot of people in our community who are trying to support children they love, and they don't always have the right language for what they're seeing, right? And we're talking about the difference between being intellectually delayed and being developmentally delayed. What are the difference? Okay. And I want to say this upfront, these terms are not the same thing. They're not interchangeable. And using the wrong one can actually get your child the wrong kind of support, which is why I'm going to break this down as clearly and as simply as I possibly can. Try not to use a lot of clinical terminology, so just real talk, that's going to make sense. So before we go into definitions of um before we go into definitions, I want to explain why this conversation even needs to happen, because here is what we see in our communities, right? A parent just gets told that their child has a developmental delay, and they go home and research it and end up reading about intellectual disability, and now they're spiraling. Are they the same thing? Is my child going to be like this forever? What does this actually mean for their future? Right? Or other directions. A child who actually has intellectual disability gets told by well meaning people it is just delay. They will catch up. Give it time. And the family waits and waits, and the child misses years of the right kind of support because nobody gave the family the accurate information from the get go. So language matters, not because the label defines your child or yourself, but because the right label opens the right doors, the right services, the right IEP, the right therapy, the right school accommodations, right? So, what is developmental delay? Developmental delay means a child is not hitting the developmental milestone that most kids their age are hitting, right? Which is happen, okay, which is expected window of time. Simple as that, right? Again, developmental delay basically means your child is not hitting the developmental milestone that most kid their age group are hitting within the expected window of time. Think about it as, hello, thank you for tuning in. Think about like what milestones actually are, right? Walking, talking, making eye contact, responding to their names, the things that they ask you on the questionnaires once you're doing your well check for your kid. So following simple instructions, playing with other kids, holding a crayon, those are, you know things that most kids are able to do within a certain time frame, not a rigid timeline, but a window. And when a child is significantly and consistently outside of that window, right? That is when developmental delay enters the conversation. So, according to the APA or AA, American Association on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, so individuals with global developmental delays are characterized by a significant delay in the development of motor skills, speech, and cognition. So the world globe, okay, the word global in global developmental delay just means that it is affecting more than one area at the same time, not just speech, not just walking, but multiple areas together. Now, here is the key thing about, I would say, developmental delay. In some children, in with the global developmental delay, the child will later meet the criteria, okay? Later will meet the criteria for intellectual disability. In others, the child may eventually catch up developmentally. So the word eventually, like, is it's doing a lot of work. It's not a guarantee. So that word, I mean, it's not a guarantee, but it is a real possibility. And that possibility, that one open door, is exactly why early intervention is so critical, guys. Because the younger the brain, the more adaptable it is. The connection being built in those 3 years, the first 3 years of life are the foundation of like for everything. And the earlier you get with the right support, the more the brain can work. Okay. The earlier, the better. And according to the CDC, oh, you can do this. I did not know that. I didn't know you could go like this. And according to CDC, right? Oh wait, I guess never mind. It says it's locked. I was trying to do the. Oh, it turned. Okay, I don't know what's happening. I did turn it. Okay. What was I saying? So according to CDC, there's approximately like 1 in 6 children in the U.S. Technically forever. It does. Thank you for the taps and thank you for tuning in. Um, you guys are gonna make me lose my train of thought. My train of thought. This is my first live on this channel. So yeah, tap up, share it, like it, engage in the comment section and see what you get out of it. What was it? Something about CDC. I have ADHD, guys, sometimes. Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, so in the United States, right? Like 1 in 6 children. Okay, so 1 in 6 children. Let me use this hand because he has six. You guys like my polydactyl? Anyways, I'm gonna get distracted, y'all. So 1 in 6 children, okay, has at least. Oh, your name is Faith. I'm in America. So 1 in 6 children in the United. I said this line like 5 times already. Has at least one developmental disability. Hey, love it, Faith. Developmental disability. So that is a huge number, guys, which means if you're navigating this, you're not alone and not even close. Um, so that's basically developmental disability, right? Now, what is your dream country? I don't know if I would consider America a dream country, but if you want to visit it, then visit it. But I would definitely, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about America being the land of the free anymore. Just saying. But so yeah, yeah, I talk about developmental disability. What was the other thing? Yeah, intellectual disability. So what is that exactly? It's is this country. We let me not get my channel banned. But so intellectual disability, it's yeah, I know Bangladesh. Well, I know I never been there, but I know of Bangladesh. What was I gonna say? I was gonna talk about girl. You see me? I have ADHD, PT. I be I'm I'm trying to figure out my train of thought. What was I talking about? Because I covered the details of what developmental delay is. Basically, your child not hitting a specific, or they're not hitting milestones within the expected window time frame. Okay. Ooh, girl, you got OCD. Woo. I don't know. I feel like OCD would be like, imagine. Oh my goodness. You. It feels like you got it all. You got too much going on. You got too much going on, Faith. Woo. May the Lord be with us. That's why we just go with faith, just our faith carry us through. Um, America is it's America, y'all. It's Americaing right now, okay? So let's talk about developmental disability. Um, no, intellectual disability, right? And I'm gonna say this by saying what it is not, okay? Intellectual disability Intellectual disability is not just about low test scores, okay? It's not a personality trait. It's not laziness or lack of effort, which a lot of people confuse ADHD people with that. Like, yeah, you lazy. No, you don't understand what I'm going through on a daily basis, pimp. You don't know. So so for the intellectual disability, it is not something that happened because of bad parenting as well. Okay. And I know a lot of parents, whenever you have a child that's, you know, has a condition, you're like, oh my God, did I do something? It just, it's not you, okay? And it's not the end of the story for any kid. So according to the DSM-5, which is the thing that they use to categorize developmental disabilities, mental health, and all of that stuff, Intellectual disability involves significant limitations in your intellectual functioning, so your brain functioning, right? Such as your reasoning, problem solving, planning, judgment, academic learning, and learning from experience. You probably do. Talk to your psychiatrist. Talk to your psychiatrist. A lot of people, especially if it's a woman, like women, we're so prone to masking that a lot of us get diagnosed at a later age, like at an older age. People getting diagnosed in their mid 20s, early 30s. Some people in their 40s and so on and so forth. So especially with women. For a man, is for boys it's easier. It's easier to for that to be detected, but with women it's just, we're expected to carry on. So you have issues with problem solving, judgment, and learning from experience, as well as significant limitation in adaptive functioning, which includes your conceptual, social, and practical skills. Period. That's why we love therapies. Okay, ain't nothing wrong with going to therapy. So it's those are the onset, like one of the deficits that occurs during the developmental period. So it's not just about thinking, it's about how a person functions across their whole daily life, their ability to communicate, their to navigate social situations, to handle practical tasks like managing money, getting dressed, staying safe. And it has something really, really important that the Cleveland Clinic emphasizes: intellectual disability. It's not just about limitations as well. Mm. I've never taken any anxiety pills. Do they have like any side effects? Um, right? So it's not just about your you being limited as a human person. It is about what the person with intellectual disability does well. Every single child with an intellectual disability has strength. Okay, every person. It could be a child, it could be an adult. You have your own strength. Your personality has things that are drawn to things, they love, things that are capable of, that will genuinely surprise you. I love it, love it. So now intellectual disability comes in levels, right? I was bawling my eyes out. Bro, why would I can't even show you guys my eyes because it's so puffy. Last night at 3 a.m. I think it was around 3 a.m. or 2, yeah, 3 a.m. because I remember I went to the bathroom. I was crying, guys, for like a good hour. Like I was crying and I was just having a spiraling moment. Like I was just full blown crying, like sniffing and everything. I didn't want to cry too loud because my husband was like right next to me, so I didn't want to keep fuss. But I'm like, oh my God, I just felt like I was having. Let me pause my educational segment of the when I'm talking about ADHD. Um, so yeah, I mean the developmental disability and the intellectual disability thing. So I was like having a full blown crisis in my head. I had so many scenarios. I felt like I was being rejected. I felt like I was worthless. I felt like nothing that I did was being understood. And people like it just I had so many things, and I started, thinking about my childhood, like, oh my God, people think I have an attitude. That's why probably I was SA. You know what I mean? So I was like, when I'm telling you guys, I was going in. My mind was going to extreme measures, and I'm just crying and crying and crying. Go to the bathroom, wash my face, and it's just like just I was like, oh my God, like what the hell is wrong with me? Like, you know what I mean? What's wrong with me? Like why do I feel worthless? Why do I feel like I'm being rejected? Why do I feel like I'm not enough for my husband? Why do I feel like I'm not enough for my family? Why do I feel like just like a big fat slob failure? That's what I felt like last night. So yeah, that was my little interjection with the whole ADHD crisis. So, yeah. What was I saying about intellectual disability? I am. I got 4 kids. Four. Four of them. You want some? You want to take some? You want to take some of them from me? Thank you. You can return them back if you want, but you can keep them too. But yeah, I got 4 of them. So now intellectual disabilities, as I was saying, comes in levels. No. Are you the oldest or you're the middle? Um, so we're gonna break down the levels of intellectual disabilities, right? Because if you understand this, maybe you'll know the difference. Oh my God, so you are like the mother. Oh God, I know you struggling. Mm-mm. So the first stage is mild. Oh, so you sent all them diapers and everything. They're forever indebted to you. Tell them you are forever indebted to me. To me. So mild. This is the common level. About you can say 85% of the people with intellectual disability fall into this category. In real life, mild intellectual disability might look like a child who needs extra time, extra support in school, but who can absolutely learn the practical life skills as an adult and can often live independently or semi independently, right? They might struggle with complex reasoning or abstract concepts, but with the right environment and the right support, they can hold jobs, have relationships, build life, and all of that stuff. Oh, that's great. I love that. I love that. And then we have moderate. So moderate individuals, like it's individuals with have like moderate intellectual disabilities can take care of themselves, travel, to familiar places in their community and learn basic skills related to safety and health. Their self-care requires moderate support. So in real life, you can imagine someone who can communicate with simple language learns best through hands-on, okay, rather than reading, and as an adult may live in a supported group home. Um, people that work on home health care and home health aid or whatever they're called, right? Or or if they're not in a home group setting, they might be able to live semi independently with ongoing support. Then we have the severe one. Now, at this level, the child got major delays in development, may understand speech, but has limited ability to thank you for the taps. They might have limited ability to like communicate themselves. They need supervision in social settings and require consistent daily support. So, learning simple routines and basic self care is possible, but it requires a lot of prompting, a lot of dedicated support team. And then we have the profound, which is like the fourth level. So we said mild, um, what did I say? Mild, severe, no, mild, moderate, severe, profound. Now, this is the most significant. This like the upper echelon, right? Oh, and that's why I'm making this because I feel like a lot of people with our parents or parents who are not well versed. Ugh, I know that must have been tough for you, Faith. That must have been tough. So the profound one is the most significant level. The child communicates typically non-verbally through gestures, expressions, and responses to touch and sound. So they need around the clock care and support for every aspect of daily life. And even in this level, they're still present, they're still human, still connected, still responding, still responding to love and familiar people. Their capacity for relationship does not disappear because their functioning looks different. Okay, they can still have a future, they can still have a relationship, but it's not going to be the same as the one maybe for a moderate one, or the one that's mild, or the one that's a neurotypical person, right? Now that's what the whole categories with intellectual disabilities. Now, what are the differences? I'm going to say it as simple as I can. All right. So side by side comparison. Developmental delay is about pace. It says right now your child is moving developmental um through development more slowly than expected. Like he and do not I'm not trying to make fun of it because I have a development a we'll talk about that one maybe on a different life. But I have a child, okay? I myself am is neurodivergent. My child is neurodivergent as well. So basically, in common sense, it's like he a little slow, or you a little slow type of thing, right? Developmental delay is basically saying you are a little slow on reaching that track. Oh, thank you so much, Faith. You enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm gonna be watching WrestleMania and UFC later tonight in a little bit, actually, after I'm done with this live session. I just wanted to do this because I feel like I'm hyper focused right now. So while I still have information in my head, I wanna get it out and then enjoy the rest of my evening. Um, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so developmental delay is about pace. Intellectual disability is about wiring. It describes significant limitation in both how a person thinks and how they function in daily life. Okay, it is a disorder with onset during the developmental period that includes both intellectual and adaptive functioning deficit in three domains. Number one, conceptual, as we mentioned, societal, social, I mean, and practical, right? It is typically lifelong. It does not go away. But with the right environment and the right support, a person with intellectual disability can live a meaningful, connected life. They can. So the single clearest difference I would say is that developmental delay is about timing, intellectual disability is about wiring. One describes pace, so you're not running too fast, you're running too slow type of thing. And then the other describes how the brain fundamentally processes and functions. And here's the timeline place that confuses, many of us families. So, global developmental delay is a diagnosis for individuals under the age of 5 years when the clinical severity level cannot be reliably assessed. Okay, it's not reliably assessed during early childhood. So, what does that really mean? It's like the test needed to properly diagnose intellectual disability requires a level of cognitive cooperation that very most young kids, very very most that most young kids, sorry, my language be, cannot reliably provide. So the system gives the diagnosis that fits it. It can actually diagnose that fits what it can actually see right now. That is usually global developmental delay. And then as a child grows and more thorough assessments become possible, the picture gets clearer. So a diagnosis of global developmental delay is often perceived as a preliminary, right? Preliminary, is that like the preview basically, okay? Preliminary. I had to say it 3 times, sorry. So a preliminary made a full assessment cannot be conducted due to the child's young age. So reassessment as the child grows older is essential because that's going to ensure an accurate understanding of their developmental progress. So, if your child was giving a developmental delay diagnosis as a toddler and are now, being told at age 5 or 6 that the picture looks more like intellectual disability, so it is not a system that's failing you. That is the system doing what it's designed to do. It gathered more information. Your child is now able to be assessed better, right? As your child grows and updates accordingly. So where do they kind of overlap? Where they go like, why people mix them up? Why do they think like it's interchangeable, right? Both developmental delay and intellectual disability can be caused by many of the same things: genetic conditions like Down syndrome or the Fragile X syndrome, complications during pregnancy or birth, infections during pregnancy, lack of oxygen at birth, premature birth, brain malformation, exposure to toxins like lead and mercury. I mean, we exposed to lead and mercury. I feel like we're exposed to it. Anyways, so and sometimes honestly, there is no clearly identified cause at all. And that is the one of the hardest things for parents to sit with, the not knowing why and how. Like, why is my child this way? Although the precise cause of the most of the global developmental delay in intellectual disability cases remain unclear, there is an estimated like half of the cause cases can be attributed to genetic factors. So need like a full detailed medical history and a comprehensive physical examination remain huge, like pivotal for guiding diagnostic investigations, right? So both conditions can frequently do exist with other diagnoses. So ADHD, ASD, so the autism spectrum disorder, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, cerebellum ataxia, which is something our family has direct experience with my child, right? Cerebellar ataxia. So a child can have a developmental delay and intellectual disability at the same time. A child can have a developmental delay that results with early intervention. A child can have developmental delay that over time leads to intellectual disability diagnosis as they grow and more comprehensive assessments become possible. So the thing that are not and they're not like in a neat box for us to be able to separate them. They are layered, right? And it's complicated and they come packaged inside a completely whole and completely unique human being who deserves to be seeing us more than diagnosis. As I mentioned at the beginning, labels is not it does not identify a child, right? But language on what they're being assessed with is going to be able to open doors, a specific support, the right support for your child. If he is developmentally delayed, he's going to have the right support for the therapy. If he's intellectually delayed, he's going to have the right support for that therapy. So it doesn't define your child and it doesn't define you if you fall under any of these labels, but knowing the difference makes a huge difference. That was such a walky sentence. Knowing the difference makes a huge difference. Anyways, so my son, right? I'm gonna try to give like a brief detail when I said like I have a direct link when it comes to developmental delay or it won't really be a developmental delay per se, but let's just say for now because that's what I was told a while ago, long time ago, when he was back in like 2017, 2018. So a while ago. So my son was about 4 years old when his life trajectory changed completely. Back in 2021, October, he had been developing, meeting his milestones in most areas, aside from growth and weight concerns from the very beginning. And then suddenly, my child, who was able to walk and talk at the age of 4 and all of that stuff, his balance was completely gone. And we ended up, you know, going to the hospital through test after test to understand what was happening. The answer was cerebellar ataxia. So it's a neurological condition that affects coordination, motor control, and with that diagnosis came the beginning of, you know, the journey into a world of therapies, IEPs, evaluations. Language I had to learn fast as a single mother at that time with all of the weight by myself, thanks to my family that was there, right? And I remember the first time the word delayed was used on my son, developmental delayed. And I was like, what? It just felt so foreign. Like my ears were like ringing. I was like, and then what hit the hardest was when I had to go back in 2021 when he had a doctor's appointment, a dental appointment, and I had to check developmentally delayed. Like that day, I swear to God, something inside of me just felt like I felt like I broke. Okay, that day I felt like I broke. So when I talk about ADHD, when I talk about autism, when I talk about things like neurodivergency and mental health, these are things that are coming from firsthand experience. It's not just me talking out of my hoo-ha, you know? So, and what is something that I learned is that the label is not the ceiling, the label is the door. Okay. And the door, when you know how to use it, opens access to support your child or you yourself deserve. So my son has ADHD. And one of the most significant things that cerebellum ataxia that it can cause is regression. He can learn something this week, and the following week is it's as if he never learned it before. So that combined with ADHD makes the learning harder and the delay more complex for him. But it does not make him less. It does not make he you guys, if you spend a day with my child, he is a character. Like everyone in the house, his aunties, everyone knows he's a character. Okay. So it doesn't make him less his potential less smaller. And there's more I can go into details, but I'm not in the mood for crying. I already cried last night. I had my ADHD melt, spiral, RSD, all of that stuff. Okay, so it makes the path different, and different is not less. So let's get practical, because of all of this information is only useful if you know what to do with it. Number one, get the evaluation and do not wait. If something feels off, trust your instinct, mama. Call your pediatrician, call your local school district, call your state, early intervention programs. You don't need a doctor's referral to access early intervention services. You can self-refer. The CDC has like free um milestones trackers app called Learn the Signs, Act Early. Download it, use it if you have to, if you suspect something. Um, Now understand your rights under IDEA. So IDEA is what the Individuals with Individuals with Disabilities Education Act is a federal law. Your child is legally entitled to evaluations and services. Okay, for children under 3, that is early intervention. For children 3 and older, that is your local public school system. Even if your child is being homeschooled, my kids are all homeschooled, right? But with one of my kids that he's on IEP, he goes to school every single day, Monday through Friday, for 1 hour to get that support, because legally he's obligated. Okay, the school is obligated to provide that support for him. They're getting something from the I for him for kids being special needs. So shoot, I'm gonna take advantage of it. Number 3, learn the difference between IEP, and I'm gonna do a whole episode on this. Okay, IEP and 504. An IEP, in short, is Individualized Education Program. It is legal document that basically outlines what your child is entitled to receive in terms of services and accommodation. Now, a 504 is a simple, there's another one I'm going to talk about. A 504 is a simpler accommodation plan. We're going to do a full dedicated episode on IEPs and BIPs or BIP, which is behavioral interventions plans, because every parent navigating this deserves to understand those documents inside out the best that I can. I can explain the IEPs more better than I can with the behavioral interventions, but the little that I know, I'll definitely share it. So CDC Learn Signs Act Early. So that you go to cdc.gov backslash um act early, the arc, and I'll try to put this in the description box so you guys can have it, so on and so forth. So for homeschooling parents specifically, even if you homeschool your child, they're still, again, legally entitled for evaluations and services through your local public school district. Call the school, ask for evaluation. Know that right. Build your day around your child's energy and attention window, not a traditional school schedule. Okay, this is for the homeschoolers over here, because I'm a homeschool mama. Short focus session followed by movement breaks work far better with kids with delays or intellectual disability than long blocks of sitting. Hands-on learning is everything. My son loves hands-on things, okay? Um, Sorting, building, measuring. That is school. That occurs. So document everything. Keep records of what your child is learning and what therapies they're receiving, what progress looks like. Those documentations later matter when you're trying to advocate a service for your child. Um, Now I always come back here because this is where everything holds for me, just with faith, hence the channel name. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, we do not burden a soul beyond what it can bear, right? And that is not a comfort phrase, that is a promise. He knew what he was placing in your hands before he placed it there. He knew what your child would need. He knew what you needed to give. And he determined before any of it began, you were exactly the right person for this child. Your brain, your child's brain is not a mistake. The delays, the differences, the challenges, none of it exists outside of Allah's knowledge or Allah's plan. Okay? That does not make it easy. It does not mean you cannot grieve or feel tired or want more for them and just feel like I want this thing. I don't want this for my child, right? It means underneath all of it, there's a foundation, a purpose, a Lord who sees every single moment of this journey, including the ones that no one else sees. The Prophet ﷺ said, how remarkable is the effort of the believer, all of his efforts. All of his affairs are good for him. If something good happens to him, he is grateful, and that is good for him. If something bad happens to him, he's patient, and that's good for him. So make dua for your child, supplicate for your child, make dua for yourself, supplicate for yourself, and then go get the appointment. fill out the paperwork, sit in the IEP meetings and advocate like your child life depends on, because it does. It does. Both, always both. Dua and action, faith and fight. Now I'm gonna end this here. Um, Developmental delay and intellectual disability are not the same thing. Developmental delay is about timing. Intellectual disability is about how the brain is wired and how a person functions across their daily life. Both are real, both are valid, both deserve to be met with the right support. Not shame, not hiding, not waiting, hoping to resolve itself. Your child is, it's not their diagnosis, right? Their diagnosis is the doorway to the support they need, they deserve. Learn the language, use it, fight for the services, find your community, and never, not for one single day, let the system or any other person put a ceiling on what your child is capable of. Because I've seen what happens when the right child gets the right support at the right time. It is extraordinary. We have all seen it, right? And your child deserves that chance. I leave you all in the care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the taps. I appreciate y'all. I'll be coming back more often to do live sessions that are just videos. Obviously, it's going to be either just my hands or walls. And yeah. Bye.